breaking right now, we have gotten word that, sure enough, $95 billion has been allocate by the U.S. Senate, with the bulk of that money going to none other than Ukraine. Okay, so it'll remain to be seen what happens in the House. But I was kind of surprised. There were some senators on that list that I was a little surprised went for this. Langford being one. Marsha Blackburn, the senator from Tennessee, was not one. I want to point that out, nor was J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is very concerned that this particular bill has in it a clause that would basically make it really difficult for Donald Trump to unwind anything should he become president. If he wants to say stop the funding to Ukraine, it would be really difficult for him to do so. So he had been urging his colleagues as recently as yesterday afternoon to not sign this, but they did. They signed it. And so here we are, $95 billion that the Senate has earmarked, most of which would go to Ukraine. I want to hear Rand Paul on this very issue. He is furious, understandably, absolutely, positively furious. Let's take it away, Senator Paul.
The title of this bill should say, Ukraine first, America last, because that's what this is really about. Now, bills in the legislature, bills that come before the Senate, don't have pictures or covers on them like a book would have or a magazine. But if this bill had an image or a cover on the front of the bill, the image would be the migrant in New York who assaulted a police officer, was freed from jail on no bail, and gave the middle finger of both hands to America. That's what this bill is. It's the middle finger to America. This bill is the middle finger to every working man and woman in America, every struggling American family. This bill gives them the middle finger and says, we don't care about you. We care more about Ukraine than we care about our southern border.
Wow. So pretty strong commentary there from Rand Paul. Quite a visual as well. All right. I can just think of the thumbnail the team's going to draw up on this one, right? That is going to be a visual. Indeed, it is a middle finger to America, says Rand Paul, because somehow we can't spend the amount of money that we need to spend here in the United States to actually take care of business at home, but we find it somehow, some way to spend overseas. It's a little weird. It's a little weird, especially when Chuck Schumer and Mitt Romney are out there pushing this so darn hard. Let's start with Senator Schumer. I want you to hear it.
Today, we make Vladimir Putin regret the day he questioned America's resolve. And we make clear to others, like China's President Xi, not to test our determination. And we send a clear bipartisan message of resolve to our allies in NATO. With the strong bipartisan support we have here in the Senate with this vote, I believe that if Speaker Johnson brought this bill to the House floor, it will pass with the same strong bipartisan support. I thank all of my colleagues, Democrat and Republican alike, who supported this bill. Thank you to Senators Murray and Collins, Murphy, Sinema, Langford. Thank you to Leader McConnell. And thank you to all the senators and staffs, including my own great staff, who worked through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and even the Super Bowl to get this done.
Wow.
Finally.
All right. So what do you guys think? I'm just curious because it's a live show. So weigh in on the commentary. Let me know. Should this have gone through or not have gone through? Mitt Romney says it's the most important thing they've ever done. Like, he's been there forever. He's been in politics forever. I remember like interviewing him way back early in my career when he was the Massachusetts governor. Anyway, listen to Senator Romney, who's on his way out, lame duck, talk about how great this is, so important.
The vote we will soon take to provide military weapons for Ukraine is the most important vote we will ever take as United States senators.
Really? The most important ever. It's the most important vote. Wow. Like, I mean, hey, I guess that helps to explain why everybody's freaking out, because Donald Trump dared to say this over the weekend. I didn't think it was actually that surprising, I'm going to tell you, because let's go to the sound first. This came out today, but we'll talk about what he's saying now. But let's go to the sound of Donald Trump over the weekend in South Carolina. This is what has everybody freaked out. And again, I'm just going to point out, he said very similar rhetoric before, so it shouldn't have caught people so by surprise. In fact, I feel like I might have even heard this story before, but let's let Trump say it in his words, and we can talk about the freak out.
They asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills.
Yeah. All right. So he said this, and people went nuts. I mean, absolutely, positively nuts. And that's why this is suddenly the most important bill that you're ever going to sign off in your lifetime, according to Mitt Romney. Because Donald Trump is trying to indicate that, hey, you know what, NATO, like if you're not paying your bills, maybe we're not going to be there to help you out so much. I mean, is that so unrealistic to ask? Everybody was like, gosh, we got to get NATO paying more. How do we get them paying more? And Donald Trump's like, well, we're not going to defend them if they don't pay. So he came out with a tweet, forgive me. He came out with a truth on Truth Social. I think that's how we phrase it. I'm over there, by the way, too, at Trish Regan. From this point forward, are you listening, U.S. Senate? No money in the form of foreign aid should be given to any country unless it is done as a loan. A loan, he said today, not just a giveaway. It can be loaned on extraordinarily good terms, like no interest and an unlimited life, very good terms, but it's a loan nevertheless. The deal, he writes, should be contingent that the U.S. is helping you as a nation, but if the country we are helping ever turns against us or strikes it rich sometime in the future, the loan will be paid off and the money returned to the United States. We should never give money anymore without the hope of a payback or without strings attached. The United States of America should be stupid no longer. Wow. Oh, talking some actual business sense to the politicians. Imagine that. Is that too much to ask for? Hey, you know what, Ukraine? If you suddenly come across a whole wealth of natural resources that we didn't anticipate you originally had, guess what? Ka-ching, ka-ching, you're going to pay us back for all the money that we have lent you. NATO, if you aren't paying your bills, well, then that's going to be kind of a problem. I mean, maybe we can lend you something here and there because it's helpful for us to have certain allies in the region, but you have to be respectful about being willing to pay that money back. I don't think that this is so outlandish. I think it's actually kind of sort of a common sense sort of thing to talk about. Meanwhile, Reuters came out with a report just moments ago that quoted a Trump official saying that, you know what? He's got a scaled plan. So you could have certain NATO members that get fewer or greater benefits from the U.S. military in a tiered system. Well, that's interesting too. Again, he's thinking like this is an asset, okay? We have the U.S. military as an asset, and right now it's draining us because we're just around the world saving everybody from who knows what, and that's costing us. It's costing us a ton of money. So how do we actually think about that 34 trillion and counting and pay our bills? Maybe we actually need to think about these military relationships we have globally and how we can best benefit ourselves while simultaneously benefiting our hegemonic power on the international scale. Innovative, interesting. I think it's a new chapter in this conversation that has been so one-sided. It's like Ukraine or the highway. Now, I'm a patriot. I want America to win. You get yourself involved in these things. You should, I hope, come out ahead. But let's not forget what's really going on here. These are lives. These are human lives that have been lost. And I think one day we'll look back at this and say, well, why?